Hello, welcome back to another episode of Somewhere Between, a film and TV podcast. We're your host. I am Daniel Parra.
And I'm Erwin.
And number one, thank you so much for listening. Number two, what are they going to do?
They're going to like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. Erwin, what are we reviewing?
Terrifier 3.
Damien-Leone's Terrifier 3. We're going to have a lot of opinions on this
Just
franchise.
2 opinions.
Just this franchise in general, but bear with us, please. And keep in mind, everything we review will always have full spoilers. Always. So, Erwin, before we get into all that, I gotta ask you something. With this movie, did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere between?
I loved it.
Yeah.
And I love that scratch I did too.
Yeah. So, I also loved this movie, but to preface, I want to go over what we think of the first two, what we think of... I don't know if you've seen the short films that led up to this.
No, like Hallows Eve or something?
All Hallows Eve,
No.
Terrifier, The Ninth Circle, all that stuff. We'll talk about all of it.
I've seen, I haven't seen those, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you, because we talk about horror movies a lot on here. It's been a really great year for it, I think, personally.
I love them thrillers.
And no. No, gonna make me upset already.
Yo.
But before we do all that, I gotta ask you what you think of the first two movies. What do you think of this franchise in general?
I really enjoy this franchise, especially when it comes to... So I'm not a big fan of movies that involve gore.
Yeah.
Not because I just can't stomach them. Oh,
Isn't that very nice? Yeah, he doesn't have the guts for it. Keep going.
Like, please. It's just I don't really find it scary.
Yeah.
But especially with the Saw movies, I don't know. There's something for everyone.
There is something for everybody. That's his backhanded way of saying that I love the Saw movies.
Yes.
And
But with these movies in particular, I think they found a way to incorporate gore, but also have some type of horror element.
Yeah.
And make it work. And so overall, I love this franchise, especially Art the Clown himself. And with the first movie, Terrifier, I really love that. Actually, no, I don't love that movie. I like that movie a lot.
Okay.
And just because I think it was definitely more creepy.
Yeah.
And definitely leaned more in the horror-esque type of movie, just because it was really dark and dirty. And just very grimy.
Yeah,
that's what I remember a lot about that movie itself, and I like that movie a lot, and I was like, wow, I'm excited for the next one, which is Terrifier 2.
Yeah,
and I thought that movie was okay, and mostly because it had a lot of fantasy elements.
Oh yeah,
in it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people were decisive on that one too.
A lot of people were divisive on 2 because of that exactly, and
Yeah.
I'm about to have a totally different opinion than you whenever you are done talking.
Yeah, and I didn't really like the actors in both of those movies.
Wait,
Terrifier 1 or 2.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the acting, I would say, it's just as a whole, it wasn't as strong.
I was about to argue with Lauren-Lavera for a second.
I was gonna say as a whole,
yeah,
it just wasn't as strong. So it was kind of hard for me to find any empathy towards any characters or any other actors in the movies itself, especially in the first one for sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so with these, there's something I want to also talk about with that. A lot of people describe the aesthetic of these as something you feel like you're not supposed to be watching. It feels like you're kind of stumbling onto... A lot of people describe them as the going to the back of a video store and you see something that kind of catches your eye, and it would be like a VHS of just Art the Clown's face, and you're kind of like, what is this? And I do feel that with the first one. Or
that video your friend sent, says, hey, watch this video in high school, ninth grade.
And then it's something you're like, why would you
watch this? It's like, look at this very destructive video now. It's like, dude, I'm trying to drink my chocolate milk with my chicken sandwich.
Fun fact, I do teach high schoolers. They do that with this franchise as well. They'll show random scenes to people and be like, look at this. And they're like, why are you showing me?
Why are you showing this? It's 7 a.m. Why are you watching this right now?
No, okay, so Erwin and I disagree on 2 different wavelengths. I like gory movies quite a bit. Do not get me wrong. I do think that there are some that just don't really appeal to me. Hostel's not my bag. I enjoy them on a certain level, but that is all that they are. And I saw Damien Leone getting a little bit annoyed that people sometimes discredit his own movies as just being gore and that's it.
No.
But I will never ever say that, because I think that these movies have a heightened sense of reality. They obviously don't exist in the real world. And
The second one had a story.
the second one had yeah. So the first one, I was kind of telling you when we walked out of 3 the other day, that I felt like the first one kind of felt like a prologue to, like, let's say issue 0 of a comic book before you get into the actual
basically just
story.
showcasing Art the Clown himself in
Exactly,
a lot of a more like a mainstream way.
And to me, the whole integration of the comic book stuff with like her dad in 3 and in 2 tells me that he might be a comic book fan, if I were to guess where his inspirations come from. Sometimes it feels like Berserk, even with some of the stuff that they like imply that she might go to hell soon or something, which is interesting. But before we fully get into 3, I really, really like the first one. The way I stumbled onto that movie is actually the year after it came out. I was just kind of scrolling through Netflix, because every October I was trying to do one horror movie a day, and I was like, what is this? I was like, I like clown things. And then I watched it, and I found it kind of really scary, actually. The acting wasn't amazing, so it took me out of it a fair amount. And yes, the kills are incredible. We'll talk about some of the best ones, and the one in the first one's iconic now. People call it the split in half scene. And 2 I love. 2 I love a lot. I think that it has a story, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It feels grandiose. Is it a little too much for some people? Sure. Like, I understand if you think it's too fantastical. Even Damien Leone admitted himself he pulled back on some of the elements of that for 3, and you do feel that. Although he did retain what was important to me anyway with that stuff for this third one. And I love the Halloween setting. I really think that movie's creepy. I think it has, again, one of the best scare kill sequences ever in the bedroom. That one's iconic now. And these movies are always trying to push a boundary. With 3, they're trying to do it again. It's at the very opening. And I'm going to ask Erwin now what he thinks of the opening in particular of this third movie.
Dude, it was gross.
Yeah.
I think it's been, I don't know if it was my first time, or if I ever felt that way beforehand, or it's been such a long time, that I actually felt queasy. I felt like, oh my God, am I going to throw up? Like, straight, I was like, am I going to throw up?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, am I going to use that lady's water cup right there?
What was it for?
That water?
You're like, can I have that?
It's like, hey, can I see your ticket? Oh, yeah, sure.
What was it for you exactly that made you feel like that?
And so in Terrifier 3, I think it was a scene, and basically it was a little like daughter. So it was a family of 4, mom, dad, son, and daughter. The daughter was still wide awake for Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
And just, I guess she heard some noise thinking it's Santa. And so she goes downstairs, sees Santa, but really it's not Santa.
It's Art the
It's
Clown.
Art the Clown, just being
silly as usual.
A silly goose.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything wrong.
I mean, he wasn't. He was just laying out presents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He broke in to get the presents. He's not even the real Santa. I mean.
Yeah. And so, of course, Art the Clown doesn't see the little girl yet. And Art the Clown is getting ready to murder everybody in the house.
Yeah.
And the first kill is with the son. And the thing is, like, you don't even see.
It's off screen.
It's off the screen, and all you hear is just the noise.
Yeah.
And to me, and you just see, or you see the daughter's face.
Yeah.
And just the noise itself. And I don't know. I think it's just the knowing, but not knowing what really went wrong in that scene itself, and just let your mind think about what happened.
Yeah.
Was enough to me be like, oh, I'm gonna throw up.
Now, I want to talk about how, with 1 and 2, you and I, while we differ a little bit, we do kind of at the end of the day have the same sort of takes on them. Even though I think you like the first one a little bit more than 2.
I think I like the first one more.
Yeah.
Just because of the lack of fantasy elements, and I think just because the way it was introduced in the second one, it just didn't work with me.
Yeah, I will say though, I feel like even if 2 isn't as good as 1 for you, I think you can at least acknowledge, I think Damien Leone grows as a director with each movie.
I agree.
And with this one, he is showing, I think, something very cool, very inspirational for me here as well, because I would love to go into a future in filmmaking, is that watching someone, well, that's a whole other topic, but watching someone grow into what they do and get better at their craft with each movie is like a phenomenal thing to watch. And for example, in 1 and 2, he definitely would have shown the like.
Oh yes.
And the restraint there. It's not that I'm like, oh, I can't believe that they didn't show it. It's more like someone that these movies go for gore. They do go for a gross out factor.
Mm-hmm.
There's moments in this one as well that you're like, what the fuck? And they aim for that. But this one is also aiming to amp up its tension as well before they do it. So whenever they show the gore, I think that's what separates it from everything else.
Yes.
Is the payoff is so immense. Like the opening here is so patient in what it's doing, and that's why I also acknowledge that you felt queasy during that scene. There's a moment in the third act with me with rats that I was like, oh my god, and that was how I felt, because each moment there's like in each of these movies there's a moment where I feel sick. It's almost never at the one where I think you're supposed to, but for me it's because of his ability to amplify the feeling of dread or tension, and that David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown is phenomenal.
I mean, he's done a great job ever since at least from the first Terrifier movie that I've seen.
Yeah.
Was he in the other ones, like the shorts or the Hallows Eve?
He is not in the very first Terrifier short. They do recast him, and I think for the better. Don't get me wrong, the person that does the initial one, he did it kind of as a favor to Damion-Leone so they could get it off the ground a little bit, but this guy is just so... I tell you that, like, whenever the second one came out, that I was like, if I ever saw anyone dressed as that guy even, that I was like, no, I would not go near that person. It does have the same effect as we talk about how Freddy is our favorite slasher, but I haven't found a slasher scary in a really long time. But this one, I feel that. I feel like if you were to see someone that looked like that, I'd be like, no.
No, I'm not gonna I'm gonna go nowhere near that.
Like if you saw that at Halloween party, I'm going home.
I'm like, I'm not gonna be here.
Yeah. But with this third one, what did you love about it exactly?
What I loved about the third one was for sure the continuation of the story.
Yeah.
And I think it was very well grounded this time.
That's true.
And I think they definitely balanced the creepiness and I guess like the fantasy elements of how the second one was.
Yeah.
They definitely toned it down like you said.
Yeah.
But I think this time I was on board. And I think it's because I think they just saved it for like the very end.
Yeah,
mostly.
because they kind of like make you wait for all of that stuff, and
this one's a lot funnier.
Yeah, this one is the funniest one. I have kind of a theory that like the entire reason why I feel like people thought that he was pushing boundaries with killing kids because there was nowhere else to go, but I actually think that for me, that was important to make the stakes higher for the third act, because you are thinking, if this franchise is willing to go there, the girl figure that Lauren-Lavera's character, Sienna Shaw, the one that looks up to her, I was kind of thinking about it because I've seen this movie twice, and I was like, I actually think that they did that as a storytelling mechanism for once the third act happens, you understand that that character is in real danger, and it adds a genuine sense of stakes to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I thought that was actually really smart.
Yeah.
But asking you, what else outside of... Do you like the Sienna Shaw character? And do you like all the stuff that...
I mean, now I do, yes.
Yeah.
I definitely care about the characters now in this third one more so than the second one. And I think just because the acting overall, and it looks more like a movie. It's like bitten... I don't know. Compared to... When you look at the movies from previously, it definitely shows the budget.
No, and... Scenes from 2 are going viral right now, and like, as much as I love that movie, it took me back. I was like, wow, that's another thing that I really like, is that the first one, I don't remember the budget, but the second one was $250,000. Even for an independent movie, that's nothing. And this third one was shot at a $2 million budget. It obviously looks better. The gore is the best it's ever been. The editing is better because Damion-Leone doesn't have to, do the practical effects, writing, editing, directing.
Yeah. Now
Now he's just under directing and supervising the practical effects, and also all of that. And I know that they acknowledge that the edit had to be shorter because people had complaints about 2. I kind of can't help it. I like when things are self-indulgent a little bit and go all out with how long they are. And if they want to make the fourth one, 2 hours and 10 minutes, why not? I mean, come on.
How long?
2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
This one, is like 2:12? I think on Alamo's listed as that or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't feel it. Like,
I did not feel it whatsoever. The moment they brought the check, I was like, wait, no.
Oh yeah, because the third act is really intense.
It happened so fast.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the end of the movie, I turned to you and I was like, wait, what just happened? Like, how did everyone just get to the house right away?
Yeah.
And it's like, I thought at one moment you just see Jonathan. And then Jonathan's on dead. There's no way. If you guys see the movie, there's no way
Jonathan's I do have
dead.
a theory about that, actually, because
okay.
I was sitting there thinking about the movie today, because I've been thinking about this movie a lot. I will be honest with you guys. It's kind of one of my favorite movies of the year. I really like this franchise a lot, and I loved this one a lot in particular. And it has been a really great, like, horror movie year, really it has. But
Late Night with the Devil.
I was thinking about how the scene at the beginning is sort of a non sequitur in that you're like, when is he doing this? Because he doesn't get the Santa costume until a certain point in the movie. And I think the implications are that he does it but somewhere between the the moment he leaves that college house party and he gets to there. I couldn't figure out if somewhere in the middle of that is when he went to that house to bother those people.
Oh, the family?
And I was like, that could have been one of their heads or something that was in
that could be like the daughter or the sons. That makes sense now.
And I was just thinking about it. I was like, that actually...
Like, whose skull is that? Yeah.
I mean, Art the Clown's a reliable narrator, you know? You can trust him.
Well, wouldn't you think, like, that could have been, like, the... that one guy's head, the roommate?
That, too, yeah. I think that... It's not like you're going to want to trust, what's her name, Vicky, and Art the Clown as, you know, your reliable source of information.
I love what they did with Vicky. I love the fact that they brought her back, and I guess like what you said, too, like, they used her as, like, the reasoning of that why that one little girl was in the second one.
Yeah, and we've gone on record on here. Yeah. You asked me, I think we talked about it with Late Night with the Devil, which I want to make a correction. The Terrifier movies are not on Shudder, they're on Screambox. That's my bad.
Screambox.
But... with that, it was funny while I was sitting there. I was like, "Hey, Erwin's gonna like that." They finally explained.
Yeah, because it didn't make sense. That's why I didn't really like the second one as much, because this little girl kept showing up for no reason, and they never explained it or anything.
No, and I told you, I always thought it was just for shock value. Yeah, and I was like, I mean, these movies, come on, like it's
okay, but like anytime like the shock value was already there.
Yeah, it's not like they needed more. Yeah.
So I'm like, that's why I was so confused on. But now it makes sense.
Yeah. I do also want to touch on something else with that. I love the lore. I love the world here that he's built.
I'm excited to see what they do now with the fantasy element.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, it's just very fascinating now. Because the fact that how it was brought up in the second one, now I'm curious to see how it's going to continue on. Not just in the third one that just happened, but in the fourth one too.
Yeah. I don't know if they're ever going to explain Art the Clown and what he is. I don't really want that.
I don't want that.
And I like the explanation that they gave in this one, where they say he's just like the worst kind of evil, like a serial killer, and they're like the demons are attracted to that. I mean, don't get me wrong, he can cut off his head and he can like come back and all that stuff's nasty and whatever, but also they don't really explain why that can happen. But Art the Clown has also become famous because he breaks a lot of rules in terms of serial killer and slashers and everything. He is essentially invincible in a way. Like, you told me that if we're gonna get into the scare stuff in a second, because I mean, of course people are gonna want to talk about that, but Art the Clown as an entity, you don't want them to ever explain like what the reason is for him, do you?
No, not really. Or not to the point where it's over explained either. Maybe just like subtle things where it's like, okay, that can obviously be the reason why, and that's it, but nothing where it's, you know, they cut away. And like how other horror movies would showcase their villains as well.
And these movies aren't that. They're not.
I don't see that whatsoever. Because the third one actually felt like a slasher, but the other two, it didn't really feel like a slasher at all. Two didn't
feel like a slasher to you? The first one, I know what you mean, because it's kind of him like
just
haunting these two like, people for...
The second one, it felt like the same in a way.
For me, a lot of these, each one has an iconic moment in horror history now. The first one has the first half hour in the restaurant, which is phenomenal work. And then that kill, of course. The second one has the bedroom scene and the scene when he's in the Halloween store and he puts on all the stuff and he's like, I sent you a picture of that recently. And some of the other stuff, but 3 has a couple, and we're going to get into the specifics of... Before we do that, I do also want to touch on something you said. This movie looks amazing. It's the first one where I could straight up tell you, I understand. I'm so happy it's in Cinemark. It's in...
Dude, because I think I was talking to one of my friends, and she was saying, like, is this the first time, like, it's been in theaters?
I was really mad I didn't get to see 2 in theaters. It was in, like, South Lamar, Alamo, which is way too far for us. And
because I told her, I was like, I think the second one was in theaters, but it was just only in, like, select theaters.
It was in something called a road show. And that's how this franchise got popular. It was on Netflix, of course. The first one, at least, where you kind of stumbled on it. But the second one was doing that roadshow release where they were showing it at a couple theaters at a time, probably because budget reasons. But it blew up. It was made at a $250,000 budget, like I said, and it made about like $18 million.
Damn.
And this one, $2 million, and is at like $30 million.
Damn.
This has really blown up. It's really cool to see Art the Clown get kind of famous the same way Freddy did way back when. Michael Myers did way back when. I think people forget that those felt provocative. They felt cutting edge. They felt sort of like something that people would be shocked that you were watching. And this is kind of repeating history in a way that I really, really like. But fully getting into that, I want to ask you, did you like how this was shot? Did you...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it because it just definitely looks better than the other 2 movies in terms of its looks.
That I want to credit it for something. It has a very specific setting this time around.
Christmas time.
Christmas movie.
Another Christmas horror movie
that you can watch every year.
Yeah.
with the family, right? But
no.
My dad wanted to watch this.
Oh.
But I think the illumination of like the lights and all of that
illumination
like the minions, it really helps with the aesthetic of everything. There's a moment that I love that's weirdly just really, really well done where he's driving a van and he walks out and it pans to him in this kind of long shot where he's walking up to a frat party and he holds open the door for someone. And he has the glasses on and he's just a nice guy. He's just
after he just murdered a bunch of people, he's just nice.
That was after the mall, right?
I love the scene where he's interacting with Santa at the bar.
Oh yeah.
Too.
Okay, so
that one was a great scene.
Let's go ahead and talk about that then. Let's go ahead and talk about what our favorite sort of sequences or kills were in this.
Because the third one?
Yes. Okay. Because the sequences, what Art the Clown, what makes him so special to me is he does a lot of goofing around before he does any of the actual killing.
Yes.
What makes him so likable is because he is likable before he gets really creepy. David Howard Thornton, I don't know how, through all of that makeup, is able to showcase some of the best facial features. And I saw an interview with Damion-Leone where they're like, if you talk to him, he's very expressive, even like without the makeup. He's got like a really kind of cartoony attitude to him just as a person.
Yeah. And
they say that really translates to him within the movies. And honestly, it's amazing. It's kind of crazy that it's a silent performance. No, he doesn't say a single word. Even when he gets stabbed, when he gets hurt, not a sound. And I think that's what makes him effective as being so creepy. Will one of the payoffs be that he talks someday? I hope not, but
I really hope Art the Clown never talks.
I don't ever want that either.
No.
And the only way I could see them doing is like in a dream sequence or something. But even then, I don't want that. Yeah.
I just hope they don't run into the problem with like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, where he gets too goofy? Or, yeah.
Or it's just like you get really tiresome
of
how Art the Clown handles that like his kills.
Oh, you're like, hey, stop fucking around.
Yeah, or I don't know.
Get to business.
Get to business right now. Just kill him.
He's like,
okay.
Let me ask you, what are your favorite sequences in this?
It was the bar.
The bar one?
I think it was the bar was the other fake Santa.
That
one was really good. I honestly, I don't know. It kind of sounds bad, but I wish the scene with the kids
in the mall,
was longer. I just think she was like him interacting with the kids a lot longer.
I did want that longer, yeah.
Because I thought it was gonna happen. I was like,
I was telling you that I think that something they did in this in particular is I don't think there's a single bad actor in this one. Some of the acting earlier on and some of the earlier ones, I get it, low budget, what can you do? But with this one, I love the way people deliver things. It reminds me so much of like how Sam Raimi would cast people. Like there's this side elf guy that whenever he's like, he's scaring me too. The way he says it, I like, and then he does this thing, and I like,
hey, what's going on over here?
And then they're like, you can't be here, and then he's like, he's pointing at them and laughing. I also have the same favorite sequence.
Yeah.
I don't know why I think it's so funny is the Santa scene. But then, of course, these movies, we've talked about tonal shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Insanely well done, especially in this one. The best they've ever done it.
Yes.
The moment where he shoots the guy in the head, you can feel the humor, everything just drain.
Yeah.
And it's so effective. Or the third act where she walks down the stairs and then they're doing that thing where they're having the voices and they're pretending to be.
Oh, yes.
And then it turns around and it's them, and you can feel that like sinking feeling. Because it makes you realize you have a really strong empathy for Sienna Shaw in these now. And I do root for her because in that first one, it is essentially just like endless beatdown of, no, they're not going to get out of this. Art the Clown is invincible. And here you do have somebody to root for.
Yeah.
But I have the same one as you. And I just really like the moment. Well, so much of it. I love another moment. This one's iconic. It's going to be iconic. It's now being called the shower scene. And
see, I don't know, I think because it was just it resembled a lot to how the first kill was, or in the first one, and so I was just like, I don't know if it's like a
they're kind of homaging themselves,
right?
Yeah,
but overall, I mean, it's still a great scene regardless.
Yeah.
So
I mean, don't get me wrong, I know what they're going for. It's supposed to be gruesome and over the top, but also have a kind of tinge of humor about it, because the setup again is so funny. Whenever she's like, I just want to know what it's like to be in the presence of evil like that, and then she's like, I don't want to fuck him, and then or like the way he smells, and then he smells himself. It's all that stuff that I think is really well done. And I there's just moments in this where you bust out laughing and you kind of feel like, am I supposed to? And then you feel kind of bad for doing it right after because of what he does to those people. But I gotta ask you, outside of that, one small controversy about this is the third act of this movie. Some people think it's a little too much.
The third act?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think the fact that we didn't really get to see how the dad Sienna's uncle dies.
Yeah.
I mean, you see his body on the wall.
Yeah, and
then it's like very disgusting, and then like her being face planted to his body.
Yeah, he's like carving it
too.
out. Yeah.
The ones with the rats, now I don't know, not really. I think it's just because of the fact that I just remember reading that in like history books.
Oh yeah, it's like a history device. Yeah. I think it's really clever.
Yes.
I think it's so part of the balance out.
I thought they were gonna kill the daughter
on screen.
Yeah, that's where I was like, oh, that would have been like something else.
Yeah, but Damion-Leone has been like, guys, I have a line. Like he said that before. Yeah. And I mean, you don't ever see the during when it's children. You do see the after. And don't get me wrong, if you were like listening to this whole review and you're like, these movies are not for me, I would not watch these. Understand. I get it, I really do. But if you are like, I want to watch that, absolutely, they're for you, and they're really well done too. Yeah. And this one in particular is really,
get better
really well
each
done.
time.
They do.
Honestly, they do get better each time. I'll say that though. I think because even if you don't like this first one, you most likely like the second one more than the first.
And if you don't like those first two, I've seen some people even say that they like this one. Yeah. So, asking you that, do you have any negatives here?
No, not really.
No?
No.
Okay. I don't really either. I didn't give it a perfect score, but I gave it a really high score because I loved this movie a lot. Score. Yeah? Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap up here then. Erwin, what's your score for this movie?
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5? I gave this a 4.5 out of 5.
What?
I loved this movie. I've seen it twice.
What did you give the first and the second one?
It goes half a star up each time. 3.5, 4, 4.5.
I think I gave mine
the same thing, by the way.
I did?
Yeah, literally the same thing. You went 3, 3.5, 4. I checked.
That's funny.
There we go. Yeah, anyway, guys, thank you so
I checked. You're wrong. I'm like, damn.
What are they going to do?
I don't know. They're going to like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. And we really want to know, what did you think of Terrifier 3? We are so excited for the fourth one. Damion-Leone, if you somehow found this, because I know that he watches people's reviews.
Oh, that's awesome.
We love this franchise. Please make 5. Don't make 4. As long as there's a story to tell that...
True. No pressure.
No pressure here.
Yeah. You can invite us on there.
They're only getting better and better. And
you can invite us to the 5th one.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, have us
people that could die? Yeah, I would
awesome.
That'd be really cool.
It'd be us reviewing Art the Clown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the movie. And then he's like behind the door.
Oh, could you imagine if they made, like a TV movie or something, and then he's, like, is mad that we didn't like it or something. That's hilarious. Sorry, guys.
we took your idea. You can't use it.
All right. Be prepared to smile, guys. That's what'll be up next. Thank you so much for listening and watching. We will see you next time.